Keys.
So, do you prefer Kojaque or Kevin?
Whichever you like.
Okay, fair enough. So I guess my first question is, I've read in interviews before that you'd sort of described Delhi Daydreams as being something of a concept album, right? So I was wondering, to what extent is Kojaque like you, or as opposed to like a character distinct from you?
I more treat it like a character, like a character profile, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't know. The process for me feels a lot more like, I don't know, how you might write a book or something like that, you know, that way. So it's definitely like a lot. It's based on experience. That's how you kind of. Well, for me, it's like how I would like evoke kind of experiences or situations and that sort of thing. But I try and keep it separate. You know what I mean? It's I don't really feel it's autobiographical. So it's more just like I've worked a lot of shitty jobs and stuff is tough. So it's not that hard to kind of like hark into that kind of perspective, you know, that way. At least for that project anyway.
Yeah, for sure. And is that sort of thing, like, is Kojaque going to be a character we'll sort of, see again, or is it going to sort of go with, like, is that just the one, concept album and that kind of thing is done? Like, what's the future?
I don't know. I like the concept album stuff. It's kind of, I just, like, my favourite albums tend to be stuff that's kind of like bookended, You can like go into it, it speaks for itself, and it like starts and ends, and then, rather than kind of like Drake's albums, you know what I mean? It's like Hotline Bling, banger, views not that good.
Yeah, for sure,
So yeah, I kind of like, Good Kid, Mad City, or even like Ready to Die. Brilliant fucking albums. They feel like, to me, they feel like novels, you know. And the more you kind of read them, the more you pick up on stuff. So that's more or less the approach that I kind of like take, or that I'd like to take. They're kind of like aspirational works for me. So probably dive back into conceptual stuff again. But it's just you got to take project by project.
For sure, yeah. And speaking of, so your most recent project, Green Diesel, with Luca Palm, how did you find sort of working on a like fully collaborative like thing? Like did you find that you guys complemented each other, or in some way did you feel like your sort of vision was a bit like constrained or whatever?
Yeah, complemented each other in ways.
Cool, yeah.
Didn't complement each other in ways. I mean, it's just like it's give and take with that sort of stuff. Any collaboration, you're trying to like keep your vision in mind and the other kind of artist's vision in mind. And sometimes they can be just very different, and you disagree about stuff, and especially if you're friends with people, you're going to end up fucking fighting with them. Which is shit, because it'd be great if it just goes plain sailing, but if it's, I suppose if it's not hard to make, then it's not really worth making. So it was sick, and I think it was like a real like learning experience for the two of us, because it took a lot longer than we expected it to take. Like expecting
just scrapping the whole time, like.
yeah. Just like because it's the artistic process. So he'd have songs like fully finished, and he'd be waiting for me to finish a verse, and I'd just be like trying to write to these beats and stuff, and I wouldn't be getting there quite as quick as he did, and then the same thing would happen. So you're in this stalemate whereby it's like you're waiting on someone else and they're waiting on you. And I'm a bit of a control freak, so that stuff isn't that like fun for me, you know what I mean? Yeah. But like I'm really happy with how it turned out, and it was just kind of like we just really got into the process of it, and like made and probably ended up with like 9 or 10 tracks, and then finished the ones that we thought were the best, and that kind of became the project, So
for sure,
it's good.
So you mentioned some albums by Kendrick and Biggie earlier. I wanted to ask you, like, what would you describe as both your like main hip hop and like non-hip hop like musical influences? Don't worry.
What's this phone in a minute? I listen to a lot of different stuff. I don't know. It's hard to say. Like some stuff I listen to if I'm just like looking for samples, and that can be mad shit, just like really, really shitty records. I've got like the worst record collection in the world because it's all just weird stuff that I bought from like the charity shops around Cabra or stuff that's inherited. I've got like one of my favourite records in my collection is this record called Glenn Campbell Rocks You But Gently. It's, I mean, I put it on hoping to get some samples, but it's fucking shit. But, so yeah, there's like a lot of different stuff that influenced me. Like I was really into like MF Doom for like a long time. Would have been like and just kind of like exclusively listening to hip hop, and then for whatever reason, because I used to be mad into like metal as a kid, and then like indie rock, and played like a lot of different instruments like guitar and drums and stuff. So it's just it's from all different spots. But yeah, I don't know if like I'm not really mad on genres that much. I feel like if it's good music, it's good music, and I don't really worry about like having to specifically listen to like hip hop or even specifically like make hip hop. Yeah, no, I get you. And I can't remember what your question was.
It was influences, so no, you guys are doing it wrong. No, it's funny you touched on MF Doom because I definitely noticed that sort of, his sort of production vibe, especially in his earlier stuff. I felt like I heard that on Delhi Daydreams, like to quite a big extent. To go to like a different sort of, aspect of the artistry or whatever. I'm sure you've seen it, but when Fantano reviewed one of your tracks, he sort of described your like flow as being like almost like spoken word, and I was wondering, like, is it actually that sort of influence, or because what I hear when I listen to it is much more like something like Mike Skinner from the Streets, that sort of like hip hop, which kind of goes in that sort of direction. Like where do you think that sort of flow comes from for you?
I used to go to a lot of like spoken word events and stuff.
Oh, really?
Through college and that sort of thing. Like I enjoy spoken word a lot. Like it's a lot more kind of freeing in terms of, I don't know, the different rules that you have to stick to when you're kind of writing hip hop, I suppose, or like writing raps and stuff. But Mike Skinner as well is amazing. Like Grand Don't Come For Free and Original Power Materials are two of my like favorite albums. And
same, they're great.
I think they're amazing. Probably prefer the first one, I'd say. I like the second one, but I feel like there's a lot of filler on that album. Just like songs that aren't that good when you take them out of context, just like, Mike Skinner's an interesting one because I think he's an amazing writer, but I don't think he's that good a rapper, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, the whole thing is he doesn't really rap though, right?
Yeah.
But no, it's interesting that you say that because obviously A Grand Don't Come Free is like the concept album of the two, so would you sort of, try and take that lesson with you and try and like not like put on like filler tracks or whatever and just like make everything very lean when you're doing more conceptual stuff?
Yeah, I've read his autobiography,
really?
It's not exactly like an autobiography. It's kind of like it's the story of the streets. So he goes through like him writing the first like couple tunes, like the We Can Come Heroes and the stuff off his first album, like how he got through that, and then he said for the second one when that came around, he like was reading like. How to write a story for dummies, and all these mad stories or books on like how to write and that sort of thing. And that's kind of where that story arc came from, and it like stuck to like a lot of set rules. But yeah, he's a mad character. He's got a lot of like justification for his mad behavior in that book that I can't really stand by.
Well, what does he say? Like, what's the stuff he was getting up to?
Well, he's just talking about like his like antics on stage. So he would have like. How he puts it is like, I want to make a show that if I play this in Manchester's going to feel like, fuck, that wasn't like it was in like London. It's like, we're the only people that got that show. So he just get mad over it before all the shows.
Okay.
And I was just kind of like, yeah, I mean, fair enough. If that's your, like, if that's what you think, but I mean, there's part in the book where he's talking about like not being able to play a festival in Amsterdam because he's stuck underneath the stage on pills. Just kind of like, what's going on? So I don't know. I'm more of like into the kind of. I prefer to treat the performance as almost like theatre or something like that. You know what I mean? So it's very much like regimented, and we like think through the stage shows a lot, and kind of almost look at like how you can like bring the energy up and then bring it back down, let people cry or whatever you want to do, and then go a little bit crazy. And that's kind of like a release and shit. And I much prefer to think of it like that. So
that makes sense. It's interesting to say that because so you're not just like a musical artist, right? Like you're really into like visual stuff. Like how do you? What's the creative process for sort of matching visuals, either in a music video or like a on-stage performance, to the sort of music you've made?
Try and just like treat them separately first off. So it's so when I'm like making the music, it's very much just focused on that and like how is this going to be consumed first of all, and how that makes sense by itself, like as a standalone piece. And when I'm happy enough with that, you move on to the visual aspect, and it's probably like my favorite part of it, you know, because it's like you can almost like bring the music and put it into like a new context, or you know, you can kind of like juxtapose some of the shit that's happening in the song with like the visual aspect of it. And I'm just like a mad cinephile, so a lot of like making the music videos is kind of just watching films like non-stop, and then seeing some shot that's like, fuck, that's amazing, I'd love to do something like that, and then just trying to rip it off.
Yeah, that's cool. And like, so what, like, is there like a movie or like a TV show or whatever, or even just a part of one of them, where it's like a certain scene, you can think of that scene and like think of how it directly influenced one of your like music videos or whatever? Like is it like a good example of that or whatever?
Like Flu Shot is like Blue Velvet. That's pretty much, if you watch Blue Velvet, you see like a lot of the Blue Velvet by David Lynch. Like there's like a particular scene where they're in I don't know if it's like a brothel. I haven't seen the film in a while. I had like a lot of screenshots when I did watch it because I fucking loved it. It's just like a beautiful like Americana. Everything is like super high gloss. It's just the colors in the film are amazing and all the shots are crazy. It's an odd film though. Like it's not really funny enough to be a comedy. It's not really thrilling enough to be a thriller. It's somewhere weirdly in between, but it's just kind of like you get that lovely facade of like Americana, but then underneath it is like this weird David Lynch shit going on. There's like a particular scene where I think they're trying to find whoever. Yeah, they're in like a brothel or something. And there's this dude and he's all like whited up. He's like, almost like a clown or some shit. He's seen into like a construction light. And that was just like, just ripped that scene completely for the shots. Even like My Kind of Woman by Mac DeMarco, I think.
That video is cool too.
Yeah, that's like a perfect music video in my opinion. So there's like one of the opening shots where he's like, he kind of looks like you're one from Blue Velvet in a certain sense. He's got like a blue velvet dress on, like the black little bob, and lipstick, and the big beam and spotlight comes on. So that was like, rip that again. Loads of stuff. But that's how our treatments tend to work, you know. It's like so I work a lot with like Sam McGrath. And he's an amazing filmmaker. The two of us tend to work like very closely. So if we're doing like a treatment, a lot of the time what we'll do is like really go like 0.000 of a second up until like 3:33, and then like sketch it out and write all the lyrics out. It's like, how can we fill this 15 seconds, and then how can we fill this next 15 seconds? So all the shots are like super, there's like a lot of intent behind all the shots, and if we get it in one take, then we get it, and then you can move on to the next one. So it means that the editing process is really just like slot in the good takes into the parts that you already have, but it means that you build up your treatment a lot with references, just like tons and tons of references, which is like kind of insane way to work, because it takes a long time to get the shots right, but when it works out, it's great. Like,
I'd say it's pretty satisfying too, right, to watch that sort of like come together.
When it goes well, it's satisfying. When it doesn't, it's fucking balling.
The next question I wanted to ask you was, so like you and Luke Palm had quite a few tour dates over in the UK over the summer. I was wondering, do you like want to sort of expand and work out there a bit more, or are you gonna chill just like work in Dublin and stuff?
I don't know. It's like touring really depends on loads of different mad things. Like the summer is great, like getting to travel and like see all the different crowds and stuff. But yeah, the English are a funny bunch. They're very stiff, especially
Really?
compared to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could fucking put a show on anywhere here that's a bit mental, but yeah, England's a bit like stirring upper lip or whatever, you stiff upper lip, whatever the fuck the saying is. Yeah, they're all very reserved and kind of just like, oh, interesting. Whereas here it's like, you're a fucking shite. I love you. It's very like loose.
Yeah, for sure.
And I kind of prefer that, you know what I mean? Because you
Yeah.
really have to like, it's like trying to do a gig in front of a load of bold children. You really have to like keep on top of them or they'll fucking eat you alive.
So yeah, speaking of Ireland, Irish hip hop is sort of going through like, you know, it's doing pretty well right now or whatever. So how do you sort of feel like your music sort of, you know, fits into that? Do you feel like a very like Irish artist, or are you just kind of like, you know, who cares? Like I make music, that's it.
No, I'm not mad on that. Like, Irish artist, because I like the. I don't know if it sounds arrogant or not, but it's just like, I'd fucking love for everyone to hear the music, regardless of where you're from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like a bit like when people say Irish artist, the way maybe you might feel if someone was to say like female MC. You know what I mean? It's just like, I'm just an artist, you know what I mean? And I make art, and I'm from Ireland, and I fucking love Ireland. It's great. Yeah. I'm against Ireland. But like I'd love for the stuff to be on like a worldwide level, you know what I mean? And to hold it up to that kind of standard, you know? So like, yeah. But at the same time, amazing shit happening in Ireland, which is class. Like the scene is insane at the minute. And it's just, I don't know what it is, because it's like a very difficult place to live at the minute.
Yeah.
But you have amazing artists like fucking Junior Brother and Fontaine's DC, like Yankee is amazing. All the fucking people in the rap scene at the minute are crazy. I don't know if you heard of Soft Boy Records, they're pretty good. Yeah, there's loads of people just doing like brilliant stuff, and a lot of it seems to be DIY as well, which is cool. But I don't know if that's just like something with how the internet is going to change, maybe, or like people's access to software and like recording kind of like shit. But
for sure,
yeah, there's a lot of good stuff happening in Ireland at the minute, and I'm really hoping that kind of just like spotlight turns over to us.
For sure, yeah.
It's just like, I think it's just an issue of infrastructure here. Like, it's never been that we haven't had talent, like, and it's never been that we haven't been like good writers or good musicians. Like, we have like a massive long lineage of amazing artists and amazing musicians. It's just like, I don't feel there's ever been like an infrastructure for musicians or artists here. And I think that's a fucking massive issue, because it just means that people kind of like stay here and then they can't fucking seem to leave the island, or you can't fucking survive on the island. And it's just like, that's a shitty fucking bleak outlook for anybody to have. And that was like one of the reasons why we started the label, because it was like, looking around, I didn't see any labels in Ireland that I would want to sign to, you know, and I didn't see anybody do anything different. So it's kind of just like, if there's like a gap in the market, you got to fill it yourself, like,
sure,
because nobody else will really. So yeah.
And is there anyone sort of in Ireland either that you'd like really like to collaborate with, or that there's like collaboration in the pipeline or whatever?
Oh man, a track with Junior Brother would be so funny. a very weird fusion rap trad track or something. I don't know, in terms of like collaborations, I find them strange, and it happens like a lot in hip hop, whereby it's like, oh, you and him should make music together. That'd be great. But like, I'm just like a massive fan of people, like, and I love listening to them. So I don't feel too obliged to just like slap myself on a track or anything like that. Like, if it were to be the case that I met someone and like got on with them, and we were in the studio, and we made a track together, it happened kind of like organically. That's how I would like. That would be my preference as to like how a track would happen. But who do I think is real good? Maria Somerville is sick. her shit's very sampleable, so maybe that might happen. Like an inverted collaboration or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't really think off the top of my head. Hosier. I'll do a track.
Yeah, that'd be pretty funny.
States.
Just one last question from me. So, what are you listening to like right now? What would you recommend everyone hear?
Yankee is sick. Junior Brother, Maria Somerville. Who else? Quell Chris is cool. Fatima is sick. Mind Design. I can keep going. Because I'll just like name everybody I'm listening to. My Spotify.
Give us like 4 more names.
4 more names. Who have I said? TPM or Gas. The Merry Wallopers.
Sound good, yeah.
That's TPM's Crad
Okay.
side project. But I don't think they have it on. I feel like they probably have it on cassette or something stupid like that. Like they're not on Spotify, but they're brilliant. Crackboy Mental. He's pretty mad. I met him in Knockenstocking.
Oh yeah?
And it was like my favourite experience of meeting anybody ever.
What was he like?
Just exactly like how I had imagined it.
Yeah.
I saw him from a distance and he was like, and then I just like walked over and I was like, what's up? And he's like, live in the flesh. And he was there with Whip Girl as well, his wife.
Yeah.
And he's like, yo, Whip Girl, this is Kojaque, he's a long time fan. And I was like, hey, how are you? Like shaking his hand, oh no way, you're a fan. I was like, yeah, massive fan. It's like, yo, I did a diss track about this guy a couple years ago. I was like, yeah man, I should have shot back, like I missed my chance. He's like, there's always time, G. Shook my hand and just walked into the distance.
Oh, that's pretty good. So is that the next project down the pipeline?
Yeah, like a whole album of diss tracks.
Okay, so we'll open up to questions from the floor if people could like put up their hand. So yeah, your man.
I know that like everyone in alternative hip hop tends to get this, but I see it like very regularly for you in particular with everyone from major publications to like my mates talking about it. Like, how do you feel about the Odd Future comparisons and the Earl comparisons in particular? Do you take that as a compliment? How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, they were an influence, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's not anything I'd be offended by. And I don't know, articles are funny. I feel like you do your first article and then you just perpetually do that article for every other article. Because everyone's like, I read in this article that you said such and such. So could you say that again for me? It's like, sick. I will. But yeah, no, it's not like, it's not anything I'm offended by or anything like that. And I think when you see the kind of like proliferation of what all those different articles in that kind of collective did, they're amazing fucking artists now. It's like Sid the Kid, Earl's put out amazing records, Frank Ocean, my G. Who else? Fucking all of the boys. Yeah, Tyler, of course. So yeah, like it's not not anything I'd be like offended by or whatever. It's like it's a valid influence. It's something I was like listening to a lot. So yeah.
Where's been your favourite place to perform?
I really like Cork, and
I'm from Cork. In case you couldn't tell.
fair play. Send them my regards.
I'll write home now, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like Northern England is good as well. I liked them, like Manchester, and that might not be Northern England, but I can't do geography. So I just write the words.
Yeah, fair enough.
So yeah, like Manchester is good. Glasgow. That's probably my favourite. They're mad fuckers. They're very like the Irish, just with a weirder accent.
Yeah. A little bit colder too. Yeah. Sorry. Oh, Katie.
So just wanted to ask you about the Lana Del
It's a
Rey.
VIP area.
I like how that kind of fun about like opening for Lana, and then how did you like find performing at that concert?
I don't know. Well, I was in the Botanic Gardens and I just got a phone call. They're like, "Oh, a bit of a mad one. Would you open for Lana Del Rey?" I was like, Do you have the right phone number? Mad. I don't know. I think they like suggested a bunch of people for a support slot, and her team had just said no to them, and then I don't know if it was a joke, but they were like, "What about this kid?"
Yeah.
They're like, "All right." Yeah, it was sick. That was like the biggest show I've ever done, and it was very fun. So I liked it, and she was nice. She's good crack. So yeah, she wasn't like backstage at all. Like she just pulled up for the show, and then did the show, and then came out and said hello to everyone and all. But she was real nice.
Yeah. And was the crowd sort of like on your vibe there? It feels like a bit of a different.
It's so hard to tell.
Yeah,
you're like 15 feet from the closest person, so you're very, very much not doing burps. Yeah. You're very much not like it's not like a back and forth kind of thing, You'll hear like a swell of like noise maybe, but like good luck to anybody shouting. It's like, look at me, like that, you know what I mean? Because you can't hear anything. You'll hear like the monitors, and that's about it. So yeah, like I prefer the smaller shows. Like I prefer the ones that don't have like a barrier. Like if you can like see people, you can smell them. That's it, Because then you can really like feed off an audience. But those big shows, it's cool for the spectacle of them and stuff. But like, I prefer the small ones.
For sure. And you said you were playing last night. You're playing again in the academy, supporting Slow Tie. Do you find that sort of vibe in the academy, or is even that a bit further away from the audience than you might prefer?
The academy's a weird venue. It's very wide. Like that doesn't make any sense. I feel like as an audience member, you can get stuck watching the side of the show very easily.
Yeah.
And the ceilings are quite low, and it stretches quite far back. But at the same time, you can ram a bunch of people in there. The sound is good, and it's sick, and it looks kind of like a spectacle. You know what I mean? But yeah. It's funny. We just don't have like a huge amount of kind of mid-sized venues here. There's like not a whole lot of venues that are kind of like 700 or 800 cap that are like good sound and like made just strictly for those sort of shows. Because there's tons of bands that are like performing and touring that would fill those sites venues, but we just don't seem to have a lot of them for whatever reason.
For sure, yeah. Or like you're saying, like ones that are built for it, right? Like I don't know if you've been to the fucking Helix in DC, but that place is like it's like that size, but it's terrible. The vibe, like you haven't been. But sorry, question, your man again.
I do, yeah. I saw you tweet, bro. What's your favorite kind of dog?
There's I don't know why I never thought of this until very recently, but you can just look up dog breeds and then like crossed with another dog breed. And you can do that for hours. So like a corgi pit bull is fucking gas. They look very wrong. A boxers are kind of my favourite dog, I think. They're just real dumb, and I like that. I don't think they really leave kind of like puppy hood, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Boxer sheepdog are also sick.
What does that look like?
Like a
boxer sheepdog.
No, but if you Google it, though, you can.
Yeah. Okay.
Good crack.
Yeah. Sorry.
You talked a lot about your creative process with making the videos earlier. What for you was your favourite video you had to making it or finished product?
Right. Let me see. Bubby's Cream was I liked that one. That, but it was a lot, like that was hard work. That was like a really small crew. It was kind of one of the first things that Sam had worked on as well. And I just, I think one of the first like music videos Sam had worked on, and I just didn't have any money. Like I was getting a dole. I was getting like 90 quid a week, which was fucking shit. And I was doing like a residency, like 90 quid a week in the 20s going on like Leap Card, and you go out like one night a week, you buy anyone a pint, and it's like, I'll see you on Monday, you know what I mean? It's just like, good luck, no money there. Anyway, so I didn't have a whole lot of money to spend on the video, so yeah, like costumes I borrowed from my little brother. He was working as a chef, and it was all shot just up in a Tesco in Carberry, and that was like sick, but it was like 3 nights shooting just to get that, because the first night we came down, they shut all the lights off in the Tesco car park, which I'd never seen them do that before. Second night we like borrowed a Steadicam, and then we got fucking started on by these lads. Dude, they were in the laundromat just like fucking about, and then they fucked off for like an hour or two, and then came back to try to rob the gear, which is so annoying because I had borrowed it all. It's just like, oh, I'm not gonna fight you, but just don't rob my shit, please.
Yeah.
And they didn't, so it was fine.
Nice. Did you talk them down like?
Nah, it was just like, I'm not gonna hit you. You're like 16. Just like, I'll put my shit away. Your man was like grabbing the camera. Yeah. He's like, do you think I'm gonna rob this? And I was like, well, you have your hands on it, and you're unscrewing it. You know what I mean? Like from the tripod. So you're probably gonna rob it. And he's like, I will fight you. I was like, I don't want to. But anyway, so that was like, that was hard, but I really liked what came out of it, like, and I'm real proud of that video. We just shot one there like a week or two ago with Hugh Mulhern again, and he would have done the eviction notice video, and we luckily had budget for it now, and so he sorted all the team out, and had like a producer and like a camera operator and then like a focus puller, and he was directing. So it just all went like clockwork. So that was probably, in terms of like an actual experience filming, that was probably like my favorite one that I've done. So that's I'm not sure, a couple of weeks, but yeah, getting the first edits back in is really good. But yeah, date night is also good, but that was it. That was about 3 months filming. I'm not joking. Like the entire summer, just like coming back in, doing the little fill-in shots. And yeah, from the time we started filming it to the time it was finished, editing. It was probably like 3 months. So that was like a nightmare, but like I loved the finished product, and it was like a case of filming something that was gonna amount to like 20 seconds for like 3 hours, but I liked the process of it, I liked the end result, but yeah.
For sure. Kate?
Lyrically, there's a lot going on in your songs, everything from like Irish social problems to like relationships to pop culture, film, whatever. I was wondering how you kind of condense all of those influences and concepts and ideas into this music project, or is that even something that you're thinking about when you're writing?
Not when I'm writing. It's for the most part at the beginning of any project, it's like the songs come first. So I suppose if you want to take something for like as an example, Delhi Daydreams would have been maybe like a 3-track, or I think I had it in my head that it was going to be like a 4-track EP, but they were all written at like very different times. So Bubby's Cream was maybe the first one I had, and that was written to like a completely different beat, and then Jar Jar Jr. sent me over a big batch of beats, and like Last Point was something that came out of like one of these little sweatshops that we did. So it's just like, and sweatshops is just when we get a bunch of producers in a room and you make until you can't make anymore. So that's what we call them anyway. And that was like, the beat came from that, and I'd written the first verse and the hook had come at like a different time, a couple months later. So that one was very like pieced together, and then I did the final verse which finished it off. But Politics was written at the same time as what is on that project. Love and Braggadocio, I think. So I think because I'd mentioned something about, I think when I wrote Love and Braggadocio, I had like long hair, I had like shoulder length hair, so that was where they still make me rock a hairnet at the deli in France. That's where that line came from, just because I had long hair, and then I was like, oh, well, if he worked in a deli, that'd be like interesting. So then it was kind of like a case of going back and just seeding little names here and there, like Susan makes a reappearance across a couple songs that like gels the concept together. It wasn't always Susan. I think it was Kira at one stage, who was a person I was doing a residency with. So that would have been like around Eviction Notice, but Eviction Notice came like very, very last. So Yeah. So that, yeah, like the concept is, that's really just like, that gets realised at the very end of the project. And how you kind of, and then you try out like a whole different bunch of scenarios and see which one like works best front to back. But it's a real kind of headache trying to do that stuff. But again, I think I'm just rambling. I'm not sure if that's like a cohesive way of how I work, but it is a bit erratic. So yeah, sorry.
Yeah, in the green.
Just, you're talking about the movies screen video there, and I saw that like Free Ireland did that ad where it was like outside watching jeans, and it was essentially like the exact same aesthetic, and my dad, who's a really fan, said he's like, that's what happens is like the old kids don't know you put these class ideas and then companies just rip them off. So and I have noticed like that you guys have kind of came up with this really distinct aesthetic. Well, it's not quite it has been like hired a lot in Ireland and like ripped off, and that's really specifically.
Who's ripping it off?
I was just wondering how you kind of the experience for you kind of taking their ideas specifically that tree ad.
Yeah, I saw that on the telly. It was very funny. I think my mum maybe pointed it out to me, but I'm not too. Yeah, maybe it was used on a mood board somewhere, but like, I mean, you can only get so angry about that stuff. Like, the nature of hip hop is taking other people's work and then reintroducing it into a new context. You know what I mean? It is somewhat different when a big company like Tree does that shit. But like, what are they gonna do? Give me a fucking tenner for location scouting? Like, it's not. You know what I mean? So you can only be so mad. But yeah, like it's if that is an influence, fuck, that's cool. People making ads are like looking at shit that you do on no budget, and yeah, I feel like that should just kind of like embolden you. You know what I mean? Not like, if I was pissed off about that, I think I'd be a very small man, smaller than I am. So
Yeah.
Where did you find the amazing driver in the politics video?
the what?
Politics video. Where did you get the driver in the car?
That's Stevie Appleby. He was in a band called Little Green Cars. So he's a lovely fella. He's a friend of mine through kind of more or less through my brothers. So my brothers are kind of they're in a band, and they would have like done a lot of slots with like the Cars, and so I would have known him kind of like, he was just a friend of mine, and he has this mad hearse. He how did he buy it? I think it was on its way to becoming a hearse, and he bought it before it got like turned into one. So he just has this mad like hatchback, all blacked out Mercedes, which we just threw a bunch of stuff in, like light up shit.
Is it like hearse length?
Yeah. Well, it's still got the seats in the back, I think. So, and then the inside was based off a video by Rosalia. Can't remember the video. It's probably in Spanish. But yeah, there's like one of her videos is like it's like an all-one kind of like take, and they're driving, and the inside of this car is just blinged out with all this like religious iconography, and it looks amazing. So we just kind of like tried to rip that off, and then we just drove around an estate up in Ashdown, like a housing estate.
I think we've got time for one or two more. Someone other than you, ideally, for now, but we can go back to you if necessary. Yeah.
You were saying how different albums are kind of like novels to you from Matthew. Do you have any like pieces of literature, books in particular, that would be like influences to you?
Watchmen is an amazing kind of graphic novel. I fucking love that book. I think that's that's a real masterpiece. I got back into reading. I'm not that good at it. I don't know if I'm dyslexic or what is wrong with me, but I'm just, if you've seen my Twitter, you can imagine I must be fucking dyslexic. I cannot spell. And my reading's not that good, so I just read very slow. So I've just been trying to do that more. So I've been reading a load of people. Emer McBride is an amazing book called Girl is a Half-Formed Thing. I'm reading that at the minute and it's fucking incredible. Truman Capote, In Cold Blood is class. Perfume by Patrick Suskind is also good, but very weird. What else? Here Are the Young Men is an incredible book by Kieran McManaman, as far as I can remember. And that's kind of, I don't know if it's kind of like coming of age. I might be mixing it up with Skin Town. Skin Town's by Kieran McManaman. Here the Young Men, I think, is by Robbie Doyle. So those are some books I've read. Yeah, and they're good. I don't know. I can't remember what you said. I just went on a rant about books.
I think it was something about books. I don't know.
Books as an influence, or
Just like books that have influenced you.
yeah, what? Yeah, just read them. They're good.
I think we've got time for one more question. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think the reaction is probably almost a little bit underwhelming. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if this sort of thing happened in anywhere like France or anything like that, there'd be riots by now. Yeah, it's fucking outrageous. It's insane. It really kind of like boils my blood. It's such a difficult place for so many reasons to be an artist, you know what I mean? And then to take cultural space away and to redevelop it into these things that are like, you know, it's the ultimate yield, because it's like the most amount of people, smallest amount of space you can fit them in, and then the most amount of like payback. But like people in like Take Back the Night or Give Us the Night, and like a lot of different organizations I think are doing amazing stuff, and there's like a lot of like almost like guerrilla art that's happening, like stuff with Cultural Equinox and loads of stuff like that, which I think just needs to keep happening, and people just really have to stay on top of the government, because it's like, I was only talking with Robbie Kitt, who is a massive activist for this sort of stuff, but he was talking about kind of in the recession what happened with like ghost estates, and I just thought it was really interesting. He made a point of like everybody remembers ghost estates, but like I don't know what's going to happen when the recession comes again, because it's going to be like ghost hotels, but then it's not exactly the same thing, because ghost estates came from like, you know, indigenous contractors who were developing stuff here, so the land was still, you know, they still belonged to like Irish people, whereas this is like foreign money and like invisible weird money, so the hotels will probably still stay open, it's just no one will be able to afford them, or they'll be made into emergency accommodation. So it's just, I don't know, like I really don't know what's going to happen in Dublin in kind of like the next 5 or 10 years if people don't really start getting active about stuff. But like there is a lot of things you can do while space is being redeveloped, and there's schemes in other countries that allow for that, because while a property is getting developed and all the bureaucracy that happens with that, there's probably like a 2-year gap where there's a big vacant space, like behind the Bernard Shaw. There was a brilliant thing on Culture Night where a couple of friends of mine did a walking tour of the Bernard Shaw, around that area in Portobello, and they pointed out places like WeWork and all the buildings behind the Shaw that have been bought by Amazon that are going to be turned into office space, and then the Shaw, which is going to be a hotel. And then they broke in to like an old gym, and they had like an art exhibition in there. It was like a sound piece.
Cool, yeah.
But while space is being developed, it's there to be used, you know, and it's just kind of takes like radical action for stuff like that to change, and for the government to look at schemes like this and be like, fuck, that'd be really useful, especially in a place that's getting redeveloped like Dublin is. So yeah, it pisses me off a lot. I can't understand the short-sightedness of it. I think it's fucking outrageous. But yeah, you just have to keep diligent and keep active and fucking riot, I guess. You know, just fuck 'em. It's our city, you know what I mean? It's the people's city. It's just like 3/3 of the politicians are landlords, so that's why stuff like rent caps get thrown out of the dolls so much. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, they don't have your interest at mind, and I wouldn't let them fool you for a minute, really. So, fuck them is what I'd say.
Kevin, you've been fantastic. Can we get another round of applause for Kojaque?